So we got recommended this on our last Australia reaction, why Starbucks failed in Australia.
You guys can recommend any other Australia videos for us to check out, but this is very interesting because, as you can see here, Starbucks is all over the world. We've traveled to a lot of different countries.
Everywhere.
Haven't made it to Australia yet, but yeah, Starbucks is everywhere, and they're super fancy, and even in like countries where the purchasing power isn't as high, they're still there.
In China, the red curtain over in China, Starbucks everywhere.
We got some Starbucks reserves over there that are nice.
But we saw in the last video we reacted to, the guy was talking about how good the coffee is in Australia. And we're like, Australia? Good coffee? Well, this is probably going to explain why it's so good, I guess.
Starbucks has coffee shops all over the world. There are more than 28,000 locations in 76 markets, from Shanghai to Guantanamo Bay. And in China, a new Starbucks location opens up every 15 hours.
What the nuts?
15 hours?
Wow. I mean, they were everywhere.
Everywhere.
Like Hangzhou in the middle of the West Lake. They're just on there.
Every block in Shanghai, there's just another dang
continent that seems uninterested in the hype over the Seattle-based coffee chain. And that continent
I don't get
is
the hype.
Australia. It's proven to be one of the toughest markets in the world to break into. So tough.
I wonder why that is. Not just, I mean, we'll learn about it for coffee, but from what we've heard, other fast food maybe too, even.
Maybe it's because they have higher standards for things. They probably have better worker protections that a lot of these American fast food companies are like, we like to exploit our workers. And Australia, they give good benefits from what we've learned.
In fact, that Starbucks closed more than 2/3 of its stores on the continent back in 2008. So what went so wrong with Starbucks in Australia? To answer that, let's go back to July of 2000, when Starbucks opened its first Australian shop in Sydney. From there, it expanded fast. By 2008, Starbucks had 87 stores across the continent.
Decent amount.
I think one of the problems for Starbucks, and it's true for a lot of businesses that have been successful in one country, is that they thought that their business model could just roll out to a different environment and there was no need for them to adjust.
But that was the problem. It tried to grow the empire too fast. Starbucks rapidly opened up multiple locations instead of slowly integrating them into the Australian market.
When they launched too rapidly and didn't give the Australian consumer an opportunity to really develop an appetite for the Starbucks brand.
So do Australians not get super into trends? Like over here in Asia, there's Starbucks. I mean, there's a mall next to us where in the Philippines that has 3 Starbucks in it, and they're just always full. Are Australians not super oh, trendy, I gotta go there?
When a place gets trendy here, it just literally expands all across the city.
Unlimited, there's everywhere, and then all of them are just full all the time. I wonder why that. I feel like Starbucks for a lot of countries, once it shows up, people are like, oh my gosh, it's Starbucks. Where they don't even need to make a presence in it. They can just show up.
Also moved into regional areas, into outer suburbs of major cities. And so for the Australian consumer, it was almost like it was too available for them. And so there wasn't this point of difference, this want, this need for Starbucks, and it wasn't an organic growth, which is what we very much saw in the US.
In its first 7 years in Australia, Starbucks accumulated $105 million in losses.
But the
in its
Starbucks
first 7
is
years in
halal.
Australia, Starbucks accumulated $105 million in losses. By
lot of
2007, Starbucks Australia was hanging on by a thread, taking big loans from the US, totaling up to $54 million. And in 2008, Starbucks announced it was shutting down 61 stores. But of course,
I like that. This is just a funny thing. The map, how it shrinks, but all of the cities are right here, so it should shrink the opposite way.
The stores are definitely not in there.
No.
Shutting down 61 stores. But of course, 2008 was a difficult time for businesses due to the financial crisis. Along with the Australia closures, Starbucks also closed 600 underperforming American stores. But even still, such a retreat in Australia was embarrassing for the brand.
When you're shutting down 75 stores, for the Australian consumer, when they did leave the market, or at least a large number of their stores were shut down, they didn't really care.
It's partly because Australians are spoiled for choice when it comes to coffee. Australia's coffee market is one of the biggest in the world. The industry is expected to hit more than $6 billion in total revenue in 2018. They've been immersed in nuances of cafe culture since the mid-1900s, when Italian and Greek immigrants began traveling to the country. The immigrants introduced Australians to espresso. By the 1980s, Australians were fully engulfed in cafe culture. They've also grown accustomed to specialty menu items, like a flat white or an Australian macchiato.
So
You think
cafes.
Starbucks would like instantly like know the market and throw that
Yeah.
on the menu?
And do like some exclusive things of
Yeah.
like, oh, you're in Australia, maybe you'd like more local stuff then.
In Australia were born out of like the Italian culture of meeting a friend and knowing your local barista and it being kind of like a local meeting place where everyone knew each other.
Okay. So it's a little bit less corporatized. They want coffee to be less corporatized and like chains, more of like a
Hangout
local.
spot.
Yeah.
And that coffee was just a part of that. And then Starbucks came in with what is more of an American style like coffee culture, which is essentially just like coffee is a product, coffee is a commodity, coffee is like to
Get it and go.
like perk me up in the morning. It's caffeination.
Starbucks had a basic menu and offered more sugary drinks, which most Australians didn't like.
In Australia, where local tastes are different, so we don't really want a coffee that's hundreds of ounces with lots of sugar in it. We want something a bit more sophisticated.
Plus, Starbucks charged more than local cafes. So Australians instead opted to pay less for coffee they liked from a local barista they trusted.
And so when you come in with this big like, hey, we're going to open all these cafes and they're all going to be to-go focused, it just was the complete wrong market for what the Australian was used to.
But there's one American coffee company that's thriving in Australia.
Thriving.
Founded in Chicago and now based in Australia, Gloria Jean's got the traction in Australia that Starbucks couldn't.
Never heard of that.
Gloria Jean's has more than
They're now
400 Australian
based in
locations
Australia,
and serves more than
starting
35 million.
So is that like one of those companies that we've seen over here in Asia where they like start in the US, then they don't really do well in the US, so then they just totally move to Asia and just close all their places in the US?
Yeah, we've noticed that there's a place called Kenny Rogers Roasters here, which is made by Kenny Rogers, the American musician. I think he's American, I don't know. But it was in the U.S. that it was made originally. Failed, but it's still around here today.
Huge. It's in Philippines. It's in like 7 or 8 different Asian countries
Yeah.
all over.
So the way the market is very interesting. I'm sure this one will see promoted more of a slower pace or whatever that they were kind of saying.
Higher
Consumers in
quality.
Australia each year. So what is Gloria Jean's doing in Australia that Starbucks isn't? Well, the company attributes its success to 2 Australians who franchised the business in their home country. Shops started to show up in Australia in 1996.
Somebody who
Fast forward
knew
to
what
today,
consumers
the company
wanted.
has a presence in every Australian state. The reason? Its menu. The chain offers a wide variety of espresso drinks and specialty coffee.
Not
Failing
super
to adapt
sugared
its
up.
menu to Australians' coffee culture proved to be a mistake for Starbucks. And the company faces
Why
another
wouldn't
challenge
they
later
do
this
it?
I
year.
don't know.
Italy. Starbucks is opening its first store in Milan in late 2018.
No way that works, right?
No, because it's literally saying that one of the big reasons that it didn't work in Australia was because of the whole Italian coffee culture and Greek coffee culture coming over. If they do it in Italy itself,
Italians are so particular about their like food. It's like when Domino's tried to go into Italy and it failed.
the only way it would do well is if they somehow made it cheap and just like
They
no,
won't,
but
though.
even then, like an Italian's just gonna drink their coffee after their meal or whatever, like how they would.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work. A Starbucks everywhere we go is always like the most expensive coffee
Yeah.
too. It just
The espresso, Italy is rich in cafe culture. But according to Starbucks, it's not going to make the same mistakes that it did in Australia. The company said that it would develop in Italy with humility and respect for its coffee culture. It announced it would be
After
opening
this video,
a
we need to
roastery, which
search
is
and
not
see
your
how they're
average
doing it.
cafe.
Yeah.
It
Italy.
gives customers a chance to see coffee beans roasted and processed before their eyes. So there's a chance that it won't struggle like it did in Australia. But Starbucks isn't admitting defeat in Australia either. Starbucks is staging a comeback
they have
on the
unlimited
continent.
money.
In
so
2014, Starbucks
I love
locations
that.
in Australia were purchased by the Mount Waverly-based Withers Group. Starbucks told CNBC that since its sale to the Withers Group, the company learned a lot. So this time, it's taken a different approach to putting Starbucks on the continent.
So if you just think about it, Australia's a big tourism destination. There's a lot of US and Chinese tourists. Starbucks have been very successful in China, and it makes a lot of sense for them to build out because there are people looking for something that's familiar to them.
Now with 39 locations in Brisbane, Melbourne, the Gold Coast, and Sydney areas, this time it's not looking to appeal to Australians. But instead, the coffee giant hopes to be a familiar face for tourists visiting popular
That's
vacation
a weird
destinations in
business
Australia.
Australia's
strategy.
always been a high volume tourist market. The same thing in terms of international students at our universities, potential opportunities for them. And we're starting to see Starbucks enter into some large shopping malls here in Australia as well.
Australia welcomed 9 million tourists from 2017 to 2018, and those international visitors spent more than $30 billion in 2017 alone. So tourists could possibly be the key to keeping the company afloat and preventing another downfall.
Are they that itching to get more sales that they need to target tourists in certain countries?
That's so interesting. Like, maybe just like hold off on that country until you formulate a little bit of a better plan.
I mean, from what it seems like, it just seems like Starbucks and honestly a lot of American companies, they just kind of operate on this idea that, oh, all these foreign countries, they want American stuff because they want to feel the American experience. And then they try to do that in Australia, and Australians are like, I don't want any American experience. American experiences suck.
I mean, Subway isn't like typical American food, like when you think about it, but like, what's Subway like in Australia then? Because we've noticed that Subway literally like never changes in any country it goes to.
Is it just like a place that works in so many countries because it's like relatively healthy, relatively quick, and just kind of, it's not greasy. It's just sandwich.
Yeah.
And we've noticed a lot of countries don't really have that many sub shops.
No, not at all. So
it's interesting. And then McDonald's is just McDonald's. It's its own thing. Starbucks is trying to become something that is already established in Australia. So just the American business ego right there.
Yeah. And typical American business ego is go there, expand everywhere immediately.
Yep. They'll like us because we're Starbucks. Thanks for watching, everybody. Let us know some other good videos we should check out. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.